You're sitting in a quiet room, no music, no talking, no notifications. Within seconds, something in you starts to itch. You reach for your phone, you hum a little tune. You ask if anyone wants to talk just to fill the space. But the real answer for why you did that is far stranger than boredom. Silence isn't empty to your brain, it's a warning. For most of human history, quiet didn't mean peace. Quiet meant something was wrong. A forest that suddenly stops making noise means a predator is near. Birds go silent. Insects stop chirping. Your ancestors who felt nothing in that moment didn't last long enough to have descendants. The ones who felt a spike of unease, who scanned the tree line, who moved closer to the fire, survived. That unease is still in you. It just has nowhere to go anymore. You live in a world engineered to never be silent. Traffic, notifications, background music in every store. Your brain evolved for a world of birdsong and wind, not a world of constant hums and pings. So when the noise stops, an old alarm still goes off, even though there's no lion behind you. Just silence. And your nervous system doesn't know the difference. In 2014, psychologist Timothy Wilson ran a study at the University of Virginia that became famous for a very specific reason. He put people alone in a plain room with nothing to do. No phone, no book, just a chair and their own thoughts. There was one other option available to them, a button that delivered a mild electric shock. Something strange happened. A majority of participants chose to shock themselves rather than sit with their thoughts in silence. Some shocked themselves more than once. People would rather feel physical pain than sit with nothing. Why would anyone do that? Because silence forces you to face what you've been outrunning. Without stimulation, your mind doesn't go blank. It goes inward. Unresolved arguments resurface. Old regrets get louder. Thoughts you've been drowning out with playlists and scrolling suddenly have the floor. This is why the moment you turn off the television, your brain seems to switch on the worry channel instead. It was always playing. You just couldn't hear it before. There's a term for this constant craving for input. It's called stimulus hunger. Your brain is wired to seek novelty because novelty once meant information, and information once meant survival. A new sound might mean food nearby. A new sound might mean danger nearby. Either way, attention paid off. Silence gives your brain nothing to chew on, and a brain with nothing to chew on starts chewing on itself. But there's a deeper layer here, one that has less to do with survival and more to do with connection. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar has spent decades studying how humans bond, and one of his most cited findings is about the role of vocalization in social groups. Long before language existed, primates groomed each other to build trust and cement alliances. But grooming takes time, and as human groups grew larger, there wasn't enough time in the day to groom everyone individually. Dunbar's research suggests that talking, humming, even background chatter evolved as a kind of vocal grooming. Noise, in a social sense, became a substitute for touch, a way of saying, I'm still here, you're still safe, we're still a group. So when a room goes silent, especially with other people in it, something ancient reads that as a rupture. No vocal grooming means no confirmed bond. Is everyone still okay? Did I say something wrong? Is the group still intact? That's why silence in a conversation feels so much heavier than silence when you're alone. It's not really about the noise at all. It's about whether the connection is still being maintained. This is also why you talk during elevator rides with strangers you'll never see again. It's why small talk exists, even though nobody particularly loves discussing the weather. The words barely matter. The sound of a voice matters. It's a signal, a low hum of reassurance passed between two nervous systems that used to depend on group cohesion to survive a night in the open. Now zoom out even further to somewhere completely different, the deep sea. Marine biologists have long known that many prey species rely on ambient sound to detect predators approaching from a distance. A 2011 study on reef ecosystems found that when background noise from healthy reefs disappeared, due to coral bleaching or environmental stress, fish became measurably more anxious, more erratic, and more vulnerable to attack. The absence of a soundscape wasn't neutral. It was itself a threat signal. The same principle that makes silence unsettling in a human living room shows up across entirely different branches of the animal kingdom. Quiet, biologically speaking, rarely means safe. It usually means unknown. And unknown is the one thing a survival-wired brain cannot tolerate. So what happens if you don't reach for the phone? What happens if you let the silence sit? Neuroscientists have found something counterintuitive. The discomfort of silence peaks early and then fades. The mind that initially panics without stimulation eventually settles into something researchers call the default mode network, a state where the brain isn't reacting to the outside world, but instead processing memory, meaning, and imagination. This is the same mental state linked to your most original ideas, your clearest emotional insight, and your deepest sense of who you are. The very discomfort you're trying to escape is the doorway to the parts of your mind that need the least noise to function and the most room to breathe. Meditation traditions figured this out thousands of years before neuroscience had the tools to explain it. Sit still. Say nothing. Let the alarm ring for a while. It will not ring forever. What's on the other side of that alarm isn't a predator in the grass. It's you, without anything to hide behind. Think about the last time you sat in true, uninterrupted quiet. Not the kind with music playing low in another room. Not the kind with your phone lying face up beside you, waiting. Real silence held for several minutes, with nothing to distract you from it. If it's hard to remember, that's not an accident. Nearly every part of modern life is built to prevent that exact experience from happening. Every autoplay feature, every notification chime, every ambient playlist exists to keep the ancient alarm quiet. Not because silence is dangerous now, but because sitting with it feels unbearable. Your ancestors needed noise to signal safety, and their fear of silence kept them alive long enough to pass that fear down to you. You don't need it for the same reason anymore. There's no predator waiting in the quiet of your bedroom. But the wiring never got the memo, and so a habit of survival became a modern discomfort, one you now spend money, attention, and time trying to avoid. Next time the room goes quiet and your hand drifts toward your phone, pause before you pick it up. Notice the itch. Notice how old it feels. Older than language. Older than the room you're sitting in. Older than you. That itch has been passed down through hundreds of thousands of years of ancestors who needed noise to know they were safe. You don't need it to survive the night anymore, but you might need it to remember what it means to actually sit still. And maybe that's the real reason silence feels uncomfortable. Not because something is wrong, but because, for the first time in a very long time, nothing is. If you enjoyed this, consider subscribing so you don't miss what's coming next. And while you're here, check out one of the other videos on your screen right now. Just pick one, click, and I'll see you over there.